right, there we go. Hash Sleep Consulting logging in today with us. We're going to be talking. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to set this up so that I can record. Okay. Well, we're going to have to.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I cannot record the audio for some reason. I was able to do it yesterday and it's not working today. So
That's okay.
It's okay. What matters is that whoever's logging in today is going to be able to see this and they'll be able to see it for 24 hours. So,
Exactly.
So how's everything today? Good day?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling better, thank you. For those who don't know, I was pretty sick yesterday. And, hi, Striving Moms. How are you? So I want everyone to know a little bit about you, what you do. I mean, everyone knows that we're having you overboard here today, talking about sleep and babies and those things that I think it's probably one of the things we struggle with the most as moms. So tell us a little bit about you, how you started with this, and how did you get started and why you're doing this?
Sure. First of all, hi everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, MomHeels, for giving me this opportunity. So I'm Anita Patel. I am a certified pediatric sleep consultant, like we spoke about earlier. I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and I'm the founder of Hush Baby Hush, which is its own sleep consulting business. I am a mother of two, so I have my own kids. I have a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter, and I started, honestly, sleep training my baby around 8 months when I was struggling with his sleep. I was waking up every 3 hours. I couldn't get him to fall asleep. I would be so thankful for the 15 minutes that he would be sleeping, and then again, he'd be up again. So I did a lot of research and I spoke to an actual sleep consultant myself, and I got a lot of help, and it changed my life. I will never look back. He's a happier baby. He was a very good sleeper after I started sleep training him. And then I did the same with my daughter, and now I'm just helping other families with their sleep challenges that they're facing.
That's great. So what methods do you teach? Because I heard that there's a lot of stuff out there and it can get confusing. I mean, there's so much information sometimes.
Of course. So it is not the cried out method, which a lot of people are very skeptical about. A lot of parents are nervous about doing sleep conditioning with their babies. So I offer a lot of gentle to intermediate methods, which allow you to offer as much comfort as you'd like. Of course, depending on how your temperament is with your child or the child's temperament itself, it really depends what kind of method that you want to use. So I make sure the parents are comfortable, and then we go ahead and use that type of method. But you really can offer as much comfort as you want.
Hi, cheeky babies. We just got some people are saying hello.
Hello.
Hi everyone. So I'm gonna be asking a few questions here to Hash Sleep Consulting, and hopefully you guys, if you have any questions at the end, you can ask your own questions to see how she can help your baby and your case. All right. So what age of children do you work with?
So I work with babies and newborns all the way up until 5 years old. So again, it's not only sleep training, it's not only sleep conditioning, it's a lot of just teaching your baby good sleep habits.
So wait a minute. So I'm feeling good. There's mommies that go to you when their kid is already like 4 years old because they're still having trouble with the sleep.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm complaining of my moms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's a lot of moms that are still having the difficulty of actually having their babies or having their children that are around 4 years, 5 years old, staying in the room. Yeah, so it's really tough. There's a lot of sleep challenges that parents are facing.
So there's still hope for me.
Definitely.
Okay, good.
I will help you.
So, you can help mommies get their babies to sleep through the night. Oh, look, Striving Mom, she says that her is 5 and still wakes up. So maybe you can give us some tips there later.
Of course.
Stay tuned, Striving Moms. We're going to hopefully get some tips to help you out, okay? So what age, if I feel like there's a correlation maybe, or maybe I'm wrong, between the napping and the sleep at night. Am I right?
Yes, definitely.
So if my baby doesn't nap, is that, or it naps 20 minutes and then stays awake for hours, is that good? Is that normal? Is that going to affect the sleep?
Yes, so there is, of course, there's sleep age requirements that are in place for babies. So for example, if your baby is napping during the day, that's great. Most likely you'll see them sleeping better at night. And of course, if they're not having good naps when they're at that age appropriate timing where they're supposed to have naps and they don't sleep during the day, their nights are going to be awful. And it tends to become like a very vicious cycle. So the more your babies are sleeping during the day, quality sleep, and of course you don't want them sleeping too much because that can take away from their night sleep, but it really does correlate with each other, because you have bad naps, you're gonna have a bad night, and you might have good naps, but then of course if your baby's sleeping too much, your nights might be still
not so good. They may feel like naps.
Yes, exactly. So there definitely is a correlation for sure.
How long does sleep conditioning training take to see some improvement?
So of course, it definitely depends on the age of your baby. When I'm dealing with just creating good sleep habits for your baby from newborn up until about 3 months, there's a lot of different things that you can do. Honestly, there's things that from when they're 6 months all the way up till a year, for example, you start sleep training, you can see differences within a day. But it really depends on the age of your baby. The best time to do sleep training is around 3 months, 3 to 5 months, where you can actually start conditioning and you can start creating a schedule for your baby.
So I actually started, I read a little bit, and what I did is I started reducing the intake of milk in the middle of the night until he didn't feel like he needed, right? And then he was suddenly sleeping. So like between 9 and 10 p.m., he was going to bed and he was sleeping until like 5 a.m. and it was amazing. And then something called teeth happened. They're not out yet, but they're bothering him. And now he's waking up again like at 2:30, 3 a.m. And he's actually hungry. I mean, he eats. Once we feed him, he goes back to sleep. But it just feels like it's a little bit more difficult. So is it true that teething affects, or is it just me making up and thinking that it's a teeth?
Teething definitely, like any regression, affects sleep, definitely during the day, during naps, even at night. And a lot of the time, just being a mom myself, a lot of the time we're confused whether it's a regression or if it's specifically teething. A lot of parents find it challenging because they don't see teeth forming, so they don't really know what it is. But what I usually say is 3 to 4 days prior to teething, prior to eruption, I should say, and 2 to 3 days after, that's really the point that babies actually go through teething. So if it lasts for weeks and months, it's technically not teething. So it might be a growth spurt. It might be just in general, it just might be a specific regression. They go through different milestones and they have different stages that they go through. So it's not always teething, but definitely teething does affect their sleep. So you just want to make sure that's what it is.
So maybe it's not, because it's been happening for a couple of weeks. So maybe he just needs more food. So my problem is I know that if he eats a certain amount, he'll go to sleep and sleep longer, but most of the time he's too tired and he won't finish the bottle. And then he's hungry at like 3 a.m. How do I know when it's the baby ready to eliminate those night feedings? Again, he's like 5 months old. He was a preemie, so I don't know that affects, but I'm sure other moms ask the same. I know moms that their babies are 8 months and they're still waking up at night to give them a feed. And then I know moms that at 3 months, they were able to have the baby sleeping in the whole night. So I don't know, how do you do it? What is right? What is normal?
Okay. My biggest recommendation is if parents are skeptical to eliminate feeds or they're nervous or they're not sure whether their baby is ready to eliminate feeds, is to talk to your pediatrician. That's the first thing. Anywhere from 3 to 6 months, your baby can actually sleep through the night, but this is a natural, this is them naturally falling asleep on their own and not maybe requiring the feeds. But between 5 and 6 months, they say that you don't need to feed your baby at night. You can eliminate feeds, but again, you want to make sure with your pediatrician that they're meeting their weight requirements and that they're ready to eliminate feeds. And of course, once you start training them, you start doing the good sleep habits, the conditioning, it honestly just falls through. It's a process, of course, but if they're ready, they're ready. And sometimes we do things, sometimes we do feed them, like you said, like sometimes we think that they're hungry and they might be 8 months, they might be 12 months, your baby, but sometimes they don't need the feed, but we've created a habit that becomes habitual to them and they just constantly just wake up as a habit. So sometimes they're already ready, but we just don't know it.
So maybe reducing the feeds can help throughout the night, reducing the amount.
Yeah, you can reduce the amount, exactly. You can reduce the amount, and a lot of it is sleep conditioning, trying to keep them awake after a feed and seeing if they can kind of self-soothe themselves. So then you'll see that they're not making that feed to sleep association, which will help you determine that they can kind of go without the feeds.
Okay. Now, about the naps, what do you do if the baby doesn't nap too much, or what is a healthy nap habit? Because that's the other thing. I mean, should the baby nap just whenever they feel like? Should they have a schedule? How long should they nap? I mean, I guess it depends on age, but I think that's even harder to figure out than the night part.
Of course. So napping is a lot more challenging than night sleep. Of course, we want to create a schedule. It's hard to schedule naps when they're newborns up until 3 months because they're still all sporadic. Their naps are all over the place. We might notice that they're sleeping a lot during the day, might not be sleeping at night. But really what you want to focus on around the 3 to 5 month mark is really trying to create a schedule then and trying to make sure, of course, like you said, depending on their age, how many naps they're supposed to really take. And you don't want them sleeping too much because, again, like I said earlier, it takes away from their night sleep. But you also want to make sure that they're not up too long. So sometimes we might look at our baby and they look fussy, they look tired, and we put them down and they're not having it. But sometimes we've already surpassed that time of them falling asleep. So it's really, really challenging for them. They're overtired. Or we put them down too early and then it's again a challenge to put them down. So you really have to look at how many naps based on their age. So it varies. 0 to 12 months, it's all over the place. But I do have a blog that I posted on my website at hushbabyhush.com, and I actually have a spreadsheet of just a table that outlines how many naps your baby should be taking based on their age, and that really helped.
I want you to repeat your website so that all the moms here can go and check what naps your baby should be taking and the habits. If you can repeat your website or maybe add it on the comments so that they can go ahead and have it, that would be great. Sure. Because that's going to help a lot of people figure out the best way to
of course.
Yes.
So it's www.hushbabyhush.com, and I have a lot of different articles and I write blogs almost like a weekly basis. So there's information on how many naps your baby should be taking that's age appropriate. So definitely take a look at that, and I'll post it at the end of this video for sure.
Okay, and if you have any questions, she's Hush Sleep Consulting. So you can find her on Instagram like that. Any moms that have any questions, you can start posting them. If you don't feel comfortable posting them right now, you can always contact us through a direct message. That's perfectly fine. Another thing, you do give consulting worldwide, right? You give consulting to moms worldwide. Is that true?
Yes. So 90% of my business is actually virtual. So we do a lot of conversations through Skype, text messaging, WhatsApp, phone calls. So I offer a lot of overseas consultations. I offer free consultations. So you can definitely go onto my website. You can email, direct message, and we can book something in for a free consultation. So Majority of my business is virtual.
That's great. Where does she go? We had a mom who had questions, and I think she just, she had to leave probably. Well, that's what happens when you have kids, right?
I know.
It can get hard. You can't connect. Right. I see people coming in and out, in and out, in and out. All right, so let's say, for example, we have someone here. My 8-month-old was a pretty good sleeper up about 2 months ago. Now there's no consoling her at night without nursing. Any suggestions?
So definitely. So 8 months is, again, it's a time where they go through a regression. And a lot of the time when they're going through regressions, we don't know what it is. Whether it's a growth spurt, they need a lot more intake of calories. We might think it's maybe at night that we can really only console them without nursing or bottle feeding. But what you need to do during regressions, especially around the 8 months, 12 months, around 2 years even, is that anytime they go through something where you feel that you're maybe feeding them more than normal, is that you want to make sure that their feeding their increase in appetite, is apparent during the day and night. To console, you really have to just try to get them to learn to self-soothe. And I'm not sure if she knows how to self-soothe, but that's one of the biggest things is putting them down after a feed, awake, drowsy but awake. You don't want them overstimulated, but putting them down awake really, really helps them create good sleep habits where they actually will allow themselves to fall asleep, and just being really consistent, because with these regressions, we don't know when they happen. Sometimes they get sick, sometimes they're starting to crawl, or they're starting to run and walk, and these are regressions that actually continue in their sleep. So the biggest thing is that you really want to you want to stay on track and be consistent. So just self-soothing is a big one. Just making sure that when they do wake up, it's because of a feed, because we don't want to feed when they're not hungry, because it'll become habitual, and then they'll continue to wake up every night until we break that habit. So that's really important to kind of see that difference.
So quick question, how can we help them self-soothe? Because a lot of times you leave the baby, I've seen it with friends where they leave the baby, and mine, fortunately enough, once we leave him in the crib, he knows that's the crib and it's time to sleep. But I've seen those kids where they cry because they want you to stay there until, so if you leave, they'll cry until you come back. And you have to let them learn how to self-soothe, but at the same time, can you leave them 30 minutes crying, right?
Of course. So a lot of the methods that I teach, which I spoke about earlier, the gentle to intermediate, it allows you to actually comfort while they're trying to learn to self-soothe. And depending on the way that you do it, again, it's all comfort. So you can offer comfort where you're in the room with them, that you're patting them, you're like showing them to sleep. You might pick them up quickly and put them back down. So some babies don't actually like to be picked up, and when you offer comfort, they get more worked up. So you really have to learn the temperament of your baby. So I always speak to my clients and make sure that they're comfortable with whichever method that they use, because some work for them and some may not. But there's, of course, ways that you go around it. So you can offer a lot of comfort, which might be great for some babies. But then there's some ways where you actually need to kind of step away a little bit and help them self-soothe. So not stepping away for like half an hour or 45 minutes if you're not comfortable with that, but you can do like 5-10 minute intervals and step away and kind of let them learn on their own, because we actually may be surprised with the ability that our kids have, or babies have, to actually self-soothe, and they just might need a little bit of help to learn on their own. So kind of stepping away a little bit helps. Again, if you're not comfortable with that, you can offer like that pickup, console them and put them back down. But I go through a lot of the methods with my clients, and through consultations, you can definitely get into detail with me, and we can go over a lot of the concerns or challenges that you're facing, and I can help you with that.
Another thing, so this is one my husband and I have discussed about. The white noise thing, putting like a fan or something that creates white noise. Is that really going to help, or is that going to make them dependent on that to fall asleep?
Honestly, white noise has saved me when I was sleep conditioning my babies, but it's highly, highly recommended. They may make that association, but it's a good association. So when they hear the white noise, it actually calms them. There's a lot of science research that has been done with white noise that helps them kind of focus on that noise to help them calm down, and also just to reduce the noise from outside. Say, for example, you have guests over, you have other children in the house that might be crying or might be up past your baby's bedtime. It actually really helps them kind of calm down. It helps just reduce the noise from outside. And I use it. I still use it with my 3-year-old, and it's amazing. And she'll turn it on and she'll turn it off when she's up and when she's ready to go to sleep. So she associates it to sleep, but it's great. And it's a good association. So I definitely recommend the white noise.
Okay, so I'll try that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple tips here. I'm gonna reduce the intake in the middle of the night, and I'm gonna put the white noise.
Good.
What time is it good to start putting your baby to sleep? Because I understand that our bodies go with daylight and nighttime, and there's a certain amount of hours they should be sleeping, and then the certain time that is probably best for them to go to sleep. What time is it recommended for your kid once they're getting the habit to put them to sleep?
I would say not to put your baby to sleep earlier than 6:30 p.m. and later than 8:30 p.m. So again, with scientific research, it's really recommended to put them down between those times. And anytime before that, they might just not be ready to fall asleep, and anything past that might be too late. So I definitely recommend 6:30 to 8:30.
Okay, all right. And I was gonna ask, so once you said that it's normal for them to sleep throughout the night, around 6 months, they should be starting to sleep throughout the night. What does throughout the night mean? Does that mean that the kid is gonna sleep 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours? What's the average?
So depends really on your baby, of course. So your baby could sleep the required amount of hours throughout the day. So say, for example, your baby is around 6 months old and the required hours of sleep is 12 to 14 hours. When you combine your night and your naps together and they're hitting that point, that's great. But when you're saying sleep through the night, it could mean 12 hours, of course. There's a lot of babies that sleep 12 hours. But of course, depending on your baby, and they need an additional feeding at night, they need maybe a feeding at 5 a.m. So you're putting them down at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., and they're waking up at 5 a.m. That's a really long stretch. So for some babies, they might go longer than that, of course, but at 5 a.m., if they wake up and you're constantly trying to push that 12 hours and they're not having it, it really means that they still might need those extra calories at night, but you can definitely have that 12 hours of sleep.
Okay. All right. So I hope everyone got a few tips here on how to put the baby to sleep. I don't know if anyone else has more questions. If you want to contact Anita, just go to #Sleep Consulting. That's the Instagram at #Sleep Consulting. Or you can find her at hold on. You say the website. I don't want to say it wrong.
No problem. So, like you said, Instagram is #Sleep Consulting as well as Facebook. And then my website is babyhush.com. And of course, all my contact information is there. My email address, my phone number. And honestly, if you want to book a free consultation with me, you can do that through email, direct message through my Instagram or anything like that.
Okay, so
we're going to ask questions.
We're going to take one last question. I see Christina is asking, sure. She says that her daughter is 2 years old. She sleeps perfectly from 7 to 7. But her 4-year-old wakes up at 3 a.m. scared every night. Is that a phase?
So it's around that age, like around 4 years old, where children actually start developing that it's honestly almost like a fear. So say they start to get night terrors, or they do sometimes start to get scared at night. They might see shadows in their room. But the best thing to do at that point is also is to actually ask what is scaring them. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they're waking up and they do want comfort again from their parents. If they just want to come into your room. If they are scared, there's different techniques that you can use. But again, if they have a nightmare, for example, or they wake up scared at night and they notice that, okay, my mom can come in and lay with me or fall asleep for the rest of the night. Sometimes that becomes a habit. So you want to make sure it's not just that habit of waking up. Of course, if it's night terrors, then there's definitely ways that you can fix that and help that. But the biggest advice is just talking through it with your children and seeing what it is that is waking them up and if there's anything that can be done.
If it's getting into a habit, how can you stop that habit?
The same thing as you do with like young children is making sure that they know that this is time to sleep, this is your room, and then in the morning when they wake up that you're there for them. So anytime you just want to make sure that they understand that during the day they're at school or during the weekends there's play and we can spend time together. But at night when they're waking up out of habit is just to keep ensuring them that this is the time to sleep. This is your room. And again, there's things that you can do. There's different sleep conditioning methods that you can use where if you need to comfort them, you need to stay in their room for a couple of days to help them, you can definitely do that. And that helps a lot with older children. And then you slowly remove yourself outside of the room when they're comfortable. So it just becomes a habit. And that's when you'll deal with the older kids dealing with the sleep challenges as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoyed this interview. I'm so glad. We may have to repeat this for the podcast.
Yes, of course.
Because I didn't record the noise. So I'll let you know if there's a way I can get the video. If not, we may have to do a second version. But thanks everyone for connecting. If you have any questions, it's at #Sleep Consulting. And you can ask Anita any questions. She helps moms worldwide. So no matter if you're here in the States, Africa, or Canada, wherever you are, you be sure that she'll be able to help you out. Okay?
Definitely.
And have a good night, Anita.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Take care.
Bye.